Okay, my phone says I'm live. So this is my first time doing a YouTube live stream. I've done live stream on Facebook and Instagram, but I've never done it on YouTube. So I want to see if this is a good way to record live stream, and then also have videos that I can, save for later and people can watch them whenever. Since obviously on Instagram they disappear. So to test this video, I'm going to be drawing this comic here. I've sketched it in my sketchbook, but I'm going to make a nice kind of clean finished version on actual paper here. If you haven't seen any of my work before, these are characters from my comic Dazer and Eleanor. If you go to smackjeeves.com/Dazer and Eleanor, I'll see if I can put a link in the description maybe. I'm not sure how this works, but if you go to my Instagram, Miss Mark on Instagram, you can find it super easy. So, gonna go ahead and get started. I'm kind of experimenting with some new paper here. It's paper that was on clearance at Hobby Lobby. It's called No Show Through paper, and it's really super smooth, which I like for ink work, but it's also really help. It's really heavyweight, so it holds up to the ink really well. It's supposed to be a kind of a all media type of paper, so we'll see. But for starters, I'm going to lay out my comic. It's pretty easy. I was going to make it a more complicated comic and make it a full like 8.5 by 11 page, but I decided I kind of like the square format, so I'm just going to do that. I think this is 9 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out the square, so I have that. If you've never seen one of these before, this kind of ruler is called a T-square, and it's awesome if you're doing comics. You want to make perfectly straight up and down lines. Okay. And I'm going to eyeball this. I don't want it to be perfect, along the middle type of grid. I think that's kind of boring, so raising it slightly. If this works, I know I don't have any viewers right now, but that's okay. I'm just testing it. I don't need people to see this. But I'm hoping this is a good way to do videos. I really love doing live streams, but after the live stream's over, on Instagram anyway, it disappears. People can't watch it, so that's lame. And then on Facebook, I just don't have many followers. I think I have under 150 followers on Facebook, so it's kind of lame to do a live stream there because all of like 5 people show up. So I thought YouTube would be a good way where I could do live stream, people could hang out if they want, but then afterwards I could share the link. So, but I also want to test it out because I don't know if this has a time limit the way Instagram kind of does. It ends around an hour. I don't know. So, alright. Just going to mark out the word balloons pretty loosely here. So this character that I'm drawing right now hasn't actually shown up in my comic yet. He won't show up till chapter 2. But he seemed like the right person to have this conversation with the other 2 main characters. So he gets to make a cameo here, even though he hasn't shown up in the comic yet. His name is Din, by the way. It's been kind of interesting. So I started publishing my comic on Smack Jeeves like 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's been kind of weird because at first it was really hard to post those pages, mainly because I felt like they weren't perfect, kind of the classic problem that a lot of artists have where their art's not quite good enough. It's just never going to be quite good enough. And I kind of thought, well, am I going to feel this way the whole time? I'm never going to be happy with my work. But the more pages I post, the less I care. Like, it really happened pretty quickly where, around like page 5 or so, I was just like, actually, you know what? These are good enough, and I just want to get them out there. So I'm a lot more comfortable posting pages now. May also be because we're past the pages I like the least. Um, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot more. I can kind of relax and just post and let it do what it's gonna do, which is a nice feeling to actually be able to enjoy something that I'm passionate about, but it would stress me out, and now I can just enjoy it. I don't care as much anymore. So, but it'll be it's kind of weird because right now the pages I'm posting, we're still in like the first 10 pages. I drew those so long ago, so it is a little hard to edit and post those because they are they're a year old now. Those pages, those first few pages, and as a result, I've grown a lot as an artist, and I can do better now. But that's okay. I'm not gonna redraw them. That was my one rule for myself was when I started posting was no starting over. That's no matter what, no starting over. Because that's what I've been doing the last several years is making some progress, finding a better way to do it, and then starting over several times. So that, well, you know what, I'm not getting anywhere. I may be a better artist, but I have not actually finished a project. So I decided, you know what, it's time to stop trying to get the most perfect comic I can and instead work on the most finished comic. It doesn't matter how good it is, just get it finished. So that's sort of my challenge to myself with this comic is to, like Jake Parker says, finished, not perfect. Which has been hard for me to let go. I never really thought of myself as a perfectionist, but really when I started looking at the pattern that my work would take of this whole start over, it, I guess I had a lot of habits of being a perfectionist, even if I didn't feel like it. Definitely was behaving like one. So it's funny though. Out of all the characters in my comic, this one right here, she's like one of the two main characters, Eleanor. She's the one that I wish I want to redraw the most because I really had a hard time figuring out how to draw her. Like, she's my own character, so it doesn't seem like it should be hard. But she was really hard. I don't know why. She never quite came out the way I wanted her to, and it always really bothered me. And I finally kind of figured out really what I wanted her to look like, and it's not what she looks like in the first few pages of the comic. So yeah, she kind of bothers me in the early pages, just because I didn't know what I was doing, and now I do. But again, no starting over. Oh man. The other thing is I'm a lot more confident with my pen work than I used to be. I used to really kind of have this nervous, sketchy style, and kind of the style that I have now is a lot more bold and blocky and confident, and so I look at some of my old pages and it just looks so, I can tell I was so unsure of what I was doing. But, it is kind of cool to look back, but it's also really stressful, just because I know I can fix it. But I'll always be able to make my pages better, so that's not really a valid reason to not start my comic, to not launch it, so kind of want to make her bigger. I think I'm going to make her bigger. I'm using a kneaded eraser on this paper. A kneaded eraser, the squishy kind, tends to be more gentle on paper, so I really like it. I want it to be like this. I want this to be like a close-up panel. thinking about maybe just doing the live part here on YouTube, or the sketching part live on YouTube, and then maybe going to Instagram for the inking part, because everybody loves ink. No, inking is definitely my favorite part. If I could get any job I want, it would be to ink, just full time, pen in my hand. I don't really want to do the drawing part. I just want to get a pen and some ink and have at the page. Okay. I like that size a lot better. Alright, just get her hands in there, and then I'm going to move on to drawing Dazer in the next panel. Make her head a little less swollen. There we go. I kind of want her looking up a little bit. Her head's tilted down, but I want her eyes to be looking up to the person she's talking to. Okay, and then this panel's going to be close-up of Dazer. It's going to be pretty big. This is actually, panel-wise, a lot bigger than I typically draw my pages. If I were to turn this into like a full comic page, it would be huge. I actually did a second version of this page in my sketchbook, and I like really worked out like, let's make the pacing better and make the camera angles a little bit more dynamic and stuff, and I actually didn't like that it was so polished. It was maybe a better page, it would fit better in a book, but I just kind of love quick, quirky moments that are a little bit more spontaneous. So I went back to my original idea. Okay, I'm just checking my settings. Just figuring out this whole YouTube thing. Drew his head pretty much entirely the wrong way, kind of not drawing the whole structure, which I should know better than to do. But our kid's born if you don't make mistakes, so let's just draw it the wrong way. This is a little bit weird because I didn't plan really a topic for this. It's mainly just a test. It's a test video, and I feel like maybe the next time I will make some notes on some stuff to talk about while I'm drawing, so that it's not just quiet. But I feel like a lot of people, when they go to YouTube to watch these, most people are getting ready to do their own project. They're getting ready to sit and draw, and I think most people, like with longer videos, they listen to it rather than actually watch it. So I feel like I should come up with something interesting to say while I'm working, because I feel like this would get boring. So I don't get to draw his expressive, angry face very often, so it's always very exciting when I do get to draw it. He usually has better control of his feelings. Thinking about maybe in the future using little mini comics like this as kind of rewards for Patreon supporters. I'm not sure. Drawing at this at kind of a weird angle because of the camera, and as I move my head I kind of realize like some of my perspective is pretty wonky. Oh well. So I may turn off the camera and actually fix all my perspective, and then ink it. Do a quick behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Making sure I'm staying on the camera too. So this is them off in the slight distance. This is going to be a weird pose, so I kind of knew either I could actually look at some references or super stylize it and make up all my own rules, basically. I kind of decided for this comic, you know, if it were for my main comic for an actual serious page, I would probably look up reference or actually do some studies. But for a gag strip, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time making sure everything's perfect. Guess we could put a little bit more effort into it than that. Looks like he's melting. The other reason it might be great if this kind of works out, I have a lot of ideas for videos, but the whole like record and editing process to me is not enjoyable and very labor intensive. So I don't like doing it. So if I had a way where it could just be a little bit rougher, but recorded and then just posted, that would really appeal to me. I don't need my videos to be perfect, just like my comic pages. I don't need them to be perfect. I just need a way to kind of expedite the whole record and post process. So this is Eleanor holding her hair. So the idea for this comic of Dazer sort of flipping out when she suggests that she cuts off her hair, I was basically just trying to think of what would make Dazer act out of character. And he's usually very calm, collected, stern, disciplined type of guy. And I was literally just, what would make him like freak out. A, freak out. B, be embarrassed. And that's pretty much exclusively, like, that's 100% where this came from. So basically I just thought, how can I put my character in a bad situation? That's where I get most of my, that's how I get most of my ideas. Honestly, that's how the whole story was written. I like this character. What terrible things can I do to them? Also, if you're interested, watching this later, I just passed 500 followers on Instagram, and to celebrate, I want to do a giveaway. And I think, I'm still working out some of the logistics and thinking about it a little bit, but I think one of the prizes is going to be a comic page commission. Like, you get to tell me a little idea, and I will turn it into a comic page for you. I'm sort of debating about whether or not that's too much work. I mean, I don't want the giveaway to be something that stresses me out. That's lame. But I do want it to be something kind of, I'm trying to think of something unique, because I really do appreciate all my followers and all the support they give me. So I want to give something cool, but I don't want it to be something where all of a sudden I'm stressing out over it, or, you know, I can't follow through on it or anything like that. But I think a comic page, or even something like this, where it's just a square, couple of panels, that would be totally doable, I would think. It's one of those things where it sounds good, you know, in theory, but in practice it could turn out to be a lot more work. But I do appreciate my followers, and really love to show that appreciation, so. Alright, I'm gonna clean up these top two panels, and then I'll pretty much be ready for ink. I'm not doing backgrounds. I'm not, you know, I'm not super worried about making this a super polished, clean, professional comic page. I just want this to be funny, and that I don't need to worry about, really. Boy, she's got a weird face. I don't know what my problem is today. I will say, this new paper that I'm testing out, I do like the way it handles the pencil and the erasing. I just tend to really like smooth paper. I think probably because I ink everything. That's my medium of choice. And ink, just, I really love slick, smooth, crisp, bold lines. And smooth paper just really goes a long way to helping the ink look nice and crisp and smooth. Textured paper, just, it shows up. The ink kind of bleeds into the little crevices and little nooks and crannies. And I don't dislike it. I mean, it can be a cool effect, so I'm not saying it's bad, but I just definitely way prefer the ultra smoothness of clean lines. So there we go. That's a nice face. I'm hoping all the autofocus is working okay. Ink tends to look a little bit better on the camera because it can focus better on the bold darks. But okay, I'm leaving a lot of her hand implied. Mainly because the hair is going to have a lot more detail in it, so I don't feel the need to draw super detailed hands. Um, kind of the way I approach my line work is just enough to suggest it. That's how I do it. If you get it like with 3 lines, then don't add 5. Is kind of how I approach inking, and therefore kind of pencils as well. But in painting and stuff, I'm a big fan of Impressionism. I love line art that leaves, a lot of the lines to the viewer's imagination. So I think that kind of shows up in my work when I choose to not put in details or, yeah. I just love suggested things. All right, I'm going to put his hands here because I think he needs hands. Just think it makes it look a little bit more interesting, and not like he's just standing with his hands in his pockets, which maybe he is. I don't know. Well, obviously he's not anymore. Yeah, not ironically, but I've kind of become an artist who loves drawing hands. I used to hate it, like most artists. But I've kind of reached a point where I love the storytelling that hands can add. So don't shy away from adding them now. Gotta count them real quick, make sure there's just 5. These are definitely kind of squished in there, but I kind of like how simple the shapes are, so. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done with the pencils. As I said, this is going to be pretty rough. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video there so that I can see what this is like, and I can see what the whole finishing process is and the processing process is. So if you've taken time to watch this, thanks very much. Sorry it was so rough and rambly, but hopefully in the future this is a good solution for recording videos and sharing my process with you guys. So thank you for watching.